Live from our cryptid camper, I'm Shay. I'm here with my good friend Tom, and we'd like to thank you for joining us for season 1, episode 20. 20!
I can't
Scare
believe
your pants off, our American road trip. How you doing today, Tom?
I am great. Wow, like you said, 20. I can't believe it. I mean, we're almost at the halfway point here. Very exciting. But yeah, no, I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually I'm very excited for this episode. So we are in Utah. Obviously, anybody watching knows we're not actually in Utah, but we are talking Utah today. But not just Utah. We're talking specifically Skinwalker Ranch. And we're not doing our typical episode breakdown. We're not doing a cryptid and then a haunting and then a special and then a strange encounter. We're just doing all Skinwalker Ranch cryptid strange encounter, and that's gonna be our story today. But I think you guys are gonna love it.
Yes.
Watch anything fun, Tom?
Oh God, I watched the new Scream movie.
how
So
did how did you feel?
I overall I liked it. I did. I always say this. I Scream's always a guilty pleasure of mine, even
Yep.
the not so the bad ones. I watched the awful TV series that they had, Scream TV series on MTV,
It
where
was
it
so-
was like the first two seasons. Like, even though it's not great, I got invested in the characters, and then they completely like rebooted it for season three, different cast and everything, and
Mhm.
had just that one. It was bad, but I still watched it because it's definitely some problems with it and some head scratching moments or choices that I'm just like, but
So I feel like we can dig into that as long as we just warn everybody. Listen, if you haven't watched Scream thus far, by this point, by the time we release this episode, it's been out for quite a while. But spoiler alert.
yes.
What problems did you have with it? Because I'm dying to know. Because I loved it too, but I had some like pretty undeniable issues with it.
Yeah. So, okay. The okay, one issue, and there's quite a few. So I love they brought back the characters, Nev Campbell and all them. That was great. Dewey, everybody, but so and the fact it was two killers.
Hmm.
Uh, so again, spoilers, guys. I'm not, but like you said, it's been out for a long time by this point. So the two killers, it's I can't remember his character's name, but he plays Huey in The Boys. It's Dennis Quaid's son,
Yep.
uh, who I like, and the girl. Okay, she's a little girl, a high schooler, and she like killed the shit out of Dewey. Like killed the shit, like holding him up with a knife. This girl is maybe 5'3", 90 pounds, maybe.
And for anyone who's seen the movie, Dewey's not a little dude, and Dewey's grown up quite a bit since the first Scream movie. Like he's not one to be messed with anymore. So
Yeah, he's like right now. I mean, I don't know how much he's done in the last couple months, but he's been doing professional wrestling the last couple of years again. He got back into it to kind of because of when he was, it was kind of a joke when he was the champion, I guess 20 years ago or whatever. It was done more of a publicity stunt, and he was like, you know what, I love wrestling. I want to get back into it. And anybody that knows professional wrestling, yes, it's predetermined and all this stuff, but you
yeah.
have to be a hell of an athlete, to do that, in a big person. And Dewey, I mean, he's not Hulk Hogan or anything like that, but he is for sure, he's much bigger than I am. And
Yeah.
this girl and that little girl was much smaller than me. So that was one issue. Another issue that just ties directly into those two, she's in high school. How old is he, the boyfriend, the other killer?
Yeah, so I I kind of had the same issue with that because I felt like he had to mid-20s. That's where I was with it. I thought it was a little that was all a little not okay for me, but
Yes, that was a problem for me too, because I don't know. I mean, maybe it was one of those they maybe because she is in high school, she could be 18. Maybe she's 18, he's 20, 21, which is legal, or maybe
Yeah.
he's supposed to be 19, she's 17, which is not great, but it's not unheard of at that age because you're both teenagers or whatever. But it's tough because he does look like an older guy. I mean, he could be all of 30 years old, in my opinion, and I don't know how old she is. So I found that to be a little problematic.
So I'm kind of trying to do the rough mental math in my head. It's so how long ago was the first Scream base? About 20 years, right?
It's somewhere around there, yes.
So if, again, spoiler alert, at this point, if the sister is Billy's daughter, she's only about 20, maybe 21. So her younger sister, who is in the same, grade class best friend as one of the killers, that girl is 16, maybe.
Yeah.
And this boy is off living in another place.
Yes.
To be pretend boyfriends with other girl.
Yes.
And so what kills me about the killer girl though is she's not attached in any way. She's not like attached to the first movies. She's a fan. Like, and it's just, I don't know. It just, that part of it bothers me. Like, I feel like there needed to be some connection more than just, oh my God, I love this story. And it's, I know that sounds awful, but that's, it bothered me.
Yeah, I agree. And with the killers, like I didn't know there was going to be two, but right, 5 minutes in the movie, I thought she was a killer, the girl. Him, it was done pretty well the way they, played it and stuff. I had a bad feeling about him, but I wasn't sure with him. With her, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's a killer. But again, I didn't know there would be two either. So I was like, she's probably the killer, So those were two of the my bigger problems. There was a lot of other little things within it. Just like I thought Dewey and Gail's relationship, like whatever went down, could have been maybe explored a little bit more.
Because I want to know, like because I love Dewey. I want to know what happened, because that's the relationship that after those movies, years later, you're like, oh yeah, they're still together. Because of course they are, but
so there was some others. What were your major issues?
So like what you said, honestly, my biggest problem altogether was that really either of them, I don't even think that boy could have taken down Dewey with the ease he was taken down. And it's because he went down in a stupid way, and he knows better. He survived. He knows. And he even said when he got in, it's funny because when he got on the elevator and he's like, and he basically says, we got to shoot him in the head. They're not dead unless you shoot him in the head. He knows that already. He knows that. And that should have been the first place he shot him, or the second place before they even went to go get in the elevator. He never should have left that elevator. And you knew when the elevator closed, you knew, or I knew. I always call that the goodbye scene.
Yes.
And it's, you knew it. And at that moment, I'm like, well, he's dead. Yeah. And he was. And it's awful because he died. He friggin' knows better. He just does. And not to get so enraged about someone in a horror movie not knowing better, but Dewey, of all people,
well, he called that the boyfriend was the killer right away. In the first few minutes, he was just like, it's him. It's probably, so that was. And he, if you're going to shoot him in the head, he didn't have to get so close to shoot her in the head. You know what I mean? He could have got in a distance and still shot her in the head and be done. And it was,
It's like he had some weird, I don't know. I don't know, some weird unfinished business that he had to see the life leave their eyes or something. I don't know. And I do like that they had, well, I do and I don't like that they had Gail calling his phone.
Yeah.
Basically when he was dying. And I'm mixed about it because is cool because maybe it means that like she wants to try to fix things, or I don't know. And obviously that's where your mind's gonna go, but it's unfortunately too little, too late, Gil Weathers.
Yeah.
I don't know what you did, but
So, question: mistake or not killing Dewey?
okay. So I'm torn, and again, I have an unusual emotional tie to horror movies. I just do. I can't help it, but I kind of feel like it. I feel like the way it happened was a mistake. I feel like if he had to die, and if he had to die, I don't want to see it happen. But if he has to die, it really shouldn't have been till the end, and it shouldn't have been like what, a half hour, 40 minutes into the movie, and then
There's still
no,
quite a bit to go. Yeah.
yeah, you don't. So I feel like I didn't want to see him die at all, but I especially didn't want to see him die that quick and stupid. What about
Yes.
you?
Same. Same. It's like I don't know if it was smart to kill him at all. I mean,
Yeah,
just because I think you have a lot of life with that character still to be explored and stuff. But if you're gonna do it, that wasn't the way to do it. He came across as every other buffoon in any of the Scream movies at that point. So yeah, like it should have been built up to this big climactic scene where
yeah.
and he goes out, I mean, like even
Saving
more
Gale.
heroic, goes
Yeah.
out like because I mean it's Dewey. It's so
Yeah.
same, same. I mean, but overall, I did like the movie. Overall, like I said, it's guilty pleasure. I give Scream a lot of credit because it rejuvenated horror. Horror went through a dark
Yeah.
period, and then in the '90s, Scream and some movies around that time, they brought horror back to some glory. So it's
Yeah.
so
Well,
overall, I liked it, but a lot of problems.
yeah.
Ugh,
No, same really. And it's funny because now that we're kind of on the was it the right thing to kill Dewey, and I agree. I would have preferred to not see him go. I understand that I guess he had to die to get Nev Campbell to come back,
yeah,
maybe, but I it's gonna sound so awful. I could have done with a movie that just had Dewey living in it, and Nev Campbell didn't find a reason to come back, and they just talked to her on the phone or something. Not that I don't like Nev Campbell. I like Nev Campbell, and I love Sydney in the movies, and I get that she was kind of a poignant part of it, but it's I might have a popular opinion though, because while I don't think it was the right move to kill Dewey, I think it was also the wrong move to not kill Sydney
yeah.
at that point.
I was talking to Roy. He thinks that Sydney's going to be the next killer, possibly in the movies.
So I like that, and it's funny because in this movie, so if you remember the first movie, you are not 100% without a doubt positive that both the killers are dead. You have no idea.
Yeah,
You're pretty sure, but you're not horror movie positive that they are dead. And you
yeah,
should be horror movie positive that a killer is dead. And
yeah,
you weren't. So part of me thought that one of them, probably Billy, was going to have something to do with it. And it turns out he did in a way because his daughter obviously, whatever. But it's I'm holding out hope for the fact that, again, horror movie dead is a very different thing. And we saw a body bag come out of the hospital, and it was thought to be Dewey. But somewhere in my childish, hopeful mind, I'm not sure that was Dewey. I don't know. I guess I'm stupid holding on to hope because I do that unless I know, unless you show me
I'm with you on that, though.
how exactly.
I had the same thoughts. See, I think the next killer is going to be the older sister. Uh,
Yes, I do
I
too.
but it could have been a red herring at the very end of the movie. But they do, after she kills the shit out of the boyfriend there, and and don't mess with the serial killer's daughter, and she just goes off, and then she does the whole after, she stabs him however many times, she, holds the blade up, pulls the blood off like that, does the whole, and stands up. But at the very end, as they're leaving in the ambulances and everything, they always do all the screams. They do that quick last shot of somebody in the ghost face thing. And it's like usually like a half a second. And this one was, it's ghost faced doing that same movement across the knife blade. So again, it could be a red herring, just to build it. But that's my thought, because I think eventually they'll build towards Sydney being a killer, but I don't think necessarily it will be the next installment into it. So
I think I'm pretty sure it was the first one. If it wasn't the first one, it was within the first couple that was actually a thing. And he had the knife, and he actually, with the two, I believe it was between these two fingers, went like this and just pulled the blood off it. So I feel like that was a throwback to it had to have been the first one. It's the only thing that makes sense. But because she's, but I love that part of the end, and I do hope it comes back, and I hope Dewey's not really dead, but
I said that too. I said he may not be dead. It's horror movies, so you don't know. As long as they do it right and don't make it too convoluted, the way he's still alive, and just it's I still think that he could pop back up, possibly, hopefully.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me.
All right. Well, I feel like we have totally derailed off topic, which was fun and a great, it was great to talk about the movie, but I feel like we need to start talking about a little Skinwalker Ranch, because I'm super excited. And I think today we were going to have you start with the close encounter, or the strange encounter, right?
Yep. So I agree, because we got a lot here too. So I'm doing the Strange Encounters and this week, and just real briefly about the Skinwalker Ranch. It's also known as the Sherman Ranch. They were previous owners before the new owner, Brandon Fugel. And just a little about it. It's located on approximately 512 acres of land, southeast of Ballard, Utah. And like we said, this place is just a hotbed of paranormal activity. Just lots and lots and lots of stuff going on here. And just a little bit about it, like you said, it's called Skinwalker Ranch, which skinwalkers are a type of cryptid that we've talked about in our Arizona episode, which you should definitely check out, and we'll talk a little more in this episode about them. But that's where the name comes from, the Navajo lore of skinwalkers. So anyway, let's get into some strange encounters. So I'm going to go back to the 90s. So in the 90s, then owners, the Shermans, again, aka Sherman Ranch, claimed to see 3 specific types of UFOs. One was a small box-like craft that emitted a white iridescent light. There was one that they approximated to be about 40 feet long, that emitted a wavy red ray or light beam as it flew along the skyline. And then the last type that they described was said to be a huge ship, estimated to be about several football fields in length, which is pretty huge. I mean, several, I don't know if that's 3-4, so that'd be like 300-400 yards. So it's pretty big UFO. So, and around the time of that they claimed that they saw these 3 different types of UFOs, some things that they started to see pop up around the ranch were they claimed to come across 3 crop circles that were all about 8 feet wide in a triangular pattern, and each one was about, and it was almost exact, each one was about 30 feet apart. It was they said it was very, very equidistant and very, very precise almost. So, and then not far from these crop circles, they claim to see strange soil impressions about 3 to 4 feet wide and 1 to 2 feet deep, with the dirt in the center of the impression completely flattened. So, pretty strange. They also around the times of these crop circles claim to seeing lights streak across the sky, orbs, and other sort of unexplainable airborne lights. Some of these lights actually, and I find this fascinating, some of the lights that they saw emerged from an orange circular doorway-like thing that was just appears mid-air, and just kind of like mid-air. They claimed it was like an orange doorway. I find that really, really cool. And then it seemed like lights and streaks of lights and things were coming out of it. So very strange. They have supposedly videotaped over 20 of these sightings. I'd love to get some of the footage to kind of see it, because I would love to really see what that doorway, this doorway they claim, if that is in any of those 20 videos. I think that would be really fascinating. And then one of these flying lights actually followed Gwen. She was, the wife of Gwen Sherman, car on her way home from work one night. It followed her for miles on her way home from work, just in the sky. Yeah, pretty creepy.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Another time, Mr. Sherman claimed to hear male voices speaking in an unfamiliar language, and he says that it didn't sound like any human language that he had ever heard in his life. And he heard this while he was out in one of the fields with the family dogs. He claims the voices seemed to be about 25 feet above him, but he couldn't see a thing. And he was in a field, so it wasn't like trees, like something 25 feet above him in the trees. It just, see, he was out in a field, and it sounded like they were in the sky, 25 feet above him. And at the dogs were supposedly frantic, barking, growling, running back and forth to the house, like just back and forth, just going nuts. So, after seeing and this is all in a fairly short amount of time, they start to try to make connections and stuff. And they have now linked these sightings with the death or disappearance of 7 of their cows. 4 of their cows, 4 of which disappear without a trace. And yes, it's a big place, 512 acres, but you're gonna find a cow. They don't move that fast. You should be able to find a cow pretty quickly after discovering they're missing. And yeah, 4 without a trace. The other 3 were mutilated with extreme precision. Just like no blood, skin peeled back, just muscle left, just like it didn't seem like an animal or a scavenger could have done this, because it was it was very, very precise. And again, there was no blood. So it was a very, very strange scene. So anyway, the sightings continue to this day. Current owner, Brandon Fugel, claims to have seen and experienced UFOs as well. He says for the first 6 months, he did not experience anything until one day, while investigating all the strange claims, he was entertaining a visiting dignitary and his security detail. And as they were, walking around, he's showing them around the ranch, they all of a sudden see a 40 to 50 foot long grayish disc-like object appear in the sky. And it was performing maneuvers that defied all our known physics. This propulsion technology that we do not have, whether it's going from a completely still to an crazy speed in under a second, or going straight up. It's just stuff that we don't think we have yet. So and then as they were watching it do all these maneuvers, it then would it then just disappeared without a trace. Just boom, they look, all of a sudden it was there, then it was gone. No idea what happened to it. And during the same afternoon, they experienced everything from smartphones being completely drained from about 80% to zero in seconds, as well as other electromagnetic anomalies and even acute medical episodes where people had to be rushed to the hospital with possible or probable radiation poisoning. So some even claim that the anomalies and phenomena have followed them home. They call this the hitchhiker phenomenon, but they don't really like to talk about it too much, because I guess when you talk about it, it makes it a little more real and everything. But many people have experienced this, and it's essentially what happened was that they'd be running tests at Skinwalker Ranch with some tools, and people would be at their homes thousands of miles away running similar tests with the idea of, okay, this is what's happening at Skinwalker. This is what's happening 1,000 miles away at my house where nothing supernatural, paranormal happens. And now we're going to look at the data, and try to figure out what those differences are. But when, those people that are 1,000 miles away putting it out, they're starting to experience the same or similar phenomenon at their homes. Again, going back to this hitchhiker effect that is following them. Yeah. And in one case, Dr. Travis Taylor, who is from the Hulu, he was on the Hulu show, guys, check it out, on Skinwalker Ranch. Very good. He's a couple, 1,000 miles away at his own place, and he claims that his brand new car, as he was driving, just shut off suddenly, and all the lights started blinking, going crazy. The car started doing that thing where, it's beeping, beep, 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 over and over again, and just the car's going crazy. And at the same time, there was really strange things happening at the ranch with guys, like, again, with the phones, which happens to be a common one, stuff like that. And in fact, at that time, one of the guy's phones, and this just seems crazy to me, because we know how smartphones are with lock screens and everything like that, that his phone kept unlocking, even though he wasn't putting in a 6-digit PIN. So, and kept unlocking. It was going through his contacts, trying to call different people. It was opening and closing apps, just taking pictures, deleting pictures, just making his phone go crazy at the same time that Travis Taylor's car was going nuts. So again, they call that the hitchhiker effect, but really sort of interesting. It seems that it's following them. And again, at their homes, before this, it didn't seem that they were having any sort of paranormal things at their homes thousands of miles away. So there have been countless other strange phenomena as well. One of my favorite being that, which was caught on tape, was that Fugel and some of the researchers and investigators, they have cameras set up all around this ranch, because it's a huge ranch, like we said, 512 acres, and it's, they can't be everywhere at once, and it's so easy to miss something. So they've set up cameras all over the place. And on one of these cameras some of these cameras have caught strange lights in the sky, objects streaking across the sky, orbs, and just, other sort of similar things. But in this one video clip that I find this fascinating, I've seen a still picture of it. Guys, check it out if you can. If you stop the video and pause it at the right spot, or even slow it down, in the distance, you can see structures. And when you zoom in, they look like big buildings, like the skyline of a city, like the skyline of New York or something like that, just in the distance. And but if you're not watching the video, there's nothing there. This is just, just in real time. If you're out there on the ranch, it's just you're just seeing the horizon. You're not seeing any building, because there aren't any buildings. It's not a city. We're in Utah. So two and then two independent researchers were able to get copies of the tape or whatever and looked at it, and they are convinced it is some sort of city skyline. And they believe that these researchers, they're not just quacks, they're like scientists. I think one's a quantum whatever, blah blah blah. They think, and this is what I think too personally, is that we might be seeing into a different dimension, an alternate dimension in that skyline. Possibly they think it's possibly a dimension that's very, very similar to ours, but with some key differences. And they think it maybe is a dimension where we have made contact with aliens, and that maybe all these sightings and stuff are like them coming through some sort of portal, wormhole, whatever, doorway. But we are friendly with the aliens, and it's in this dimension. Maybe it's not odd for people, to see flying saucers, or maybe they, maybe friends with aliens. But also, and which I find fascinating, because like I said, they think that it's similar to ours, but with key differences. And what you're going to get into with the cryptids, they believe that maybe in this dimension that some of these cryptids never went extinct, because we know that some cryptids did exist for sure. We know that, but went extinct for one reason or another, or so that maybe they never went extinct, and then in some other instances where that they actually do exist in this dimension, that it's not abnormal in this dimension, that Wendigos are a thing and Bigfoots are a thing and people know it, and it's not a mystery, and they actually exist. And I just love this because there's so much going on that this is truly what makes most sense to me, that somewhere on this ranch, and there is some sort of doorway or portal into an similar but alternate dimension. And that's what I got. I know it was a lot, but it's I find this stuff fascinating.
Excuse me, sorry. All right, so I guess I feel like I took a couple notes, because you said a couple things that really like completely piqued my interest. And it's one of them is it's a super small thing, but it's really very prevalent when you think about it, or relevant when you think about it, whichever word. So you said in the very beginning that they saw a wavy red beam in the sky, right? So if you think about it, if you take a laser pointer, like one of the strong 5MW ones, or whatever, or a flashlight or whatever, and you aim it into the sky, there's no wave to it. That's not something that happens in our atmosphere. Light doesn't break up that way in our visual spectrum, in our atmosphere. It just doesn't. So I'm not sure 100% what that even means. I don't know if that means maybe the lights were coming from beyond and we were just able to see it, or what is even creating a wavy light beam? Because again, and you can wave the flashlight around or the laser pointer around, and it doesn't wave the beam.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't even thought of that, but that's a really great point, because it does. Yeah, it doesn't do that.
So then you also talked about finding near the crop circle triangles that there were holes that were about 3 or 4 feet wide, and you said 2.
Yeah, about 2 feet deep, 1 to 2 feet deep, I think.
And then had a flat spot on the bottom that almost feels like, you ever see an tractor trailer, the stabilizing jack that comes down when the truck isn't going to be attached to it. It almost feels like it could be something like that. I mean, it's got to be something heavy to push that deep into Earth you know?
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. I hadn't thought of that either, but that makes 100%. I can almost see it. It's like a landing type thing that come out, and yeah, no, that's great. That's that makes a lot of sense actually, and it would leave that impression they were talking about. So nice.
And I want to talk about a little bit about the cattle mutilations you talked about,
Yeah.
because I encountered them in my research too.
Hmm.
And it's the fact that you brought up the precision of the mutilations that makes me almost kind of feel like it could also be cryptid. And
Hmm.
it's only because when I start talking about the skinwalker, I'm obviously going to bring up a Wendigo because A, it's me, and B, it genuinely fits this time. But it's the precision of the mutilation is extremely Wendigo, and it's almost like sacrificial. Like they're not eating it, they're not devouring the whole thing. They're leaving behind something to show us, like, hey,
Hmm.
we were here. This is what's going on, and it's really very it's far less vicious than it would be if it were just, I'm hungry, I need to eat. But
Yeah, no, I like that too because yeah, because I saw where in my research where I was going that these mutilate very precise, so it could be like alien in nature or whatever. But my problem with that is it's like you said, something's left behind. To me, if an alien's going to do this, it's probably about research or something like that. So
yeah,
to me, like the ones that could disappear without a trace, that makes sense to me that it could be alien because they just took it, whatever, performing tests, learning whatever, trying to learn the biology of a cow, maybe, or whatever it is, whereas the mutilation, that doesn't make that to me never really added up to alien and does fit skinwalker Wendigo much better. What I've learned about Wendigo is through the show from with the precision and the bloodlessness and the
yeah,
all that makes more sense to me with the mutilated one. So I'm glad you made that connection as well because that's yeah that makes more sense to me personally. It's yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm glad we're kind of on the same page there. And I awesome job. I love learning about this stuff, and it's so cool. I like that we break it up the way we do, because I genuinely try to not research the stuff that you're going to be talking about, because I want to be here for the ride. I want to be here for the, oh, really, that's, and it's and I'm every time I'm completely enjoying it, and I love hearing a fresh news story that I didn't know about or that I don't know much about. So awesome job.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's like I like our format because it breaks it up into very digestible little things. So I 100% agree with you, and I do the same. I don't try if you have the cryptid, or I don't try to research the cryptid. I mean, this one had a little bit of overlap because we're just on Skinwalker, but same thing. I like to be surprised and learn it from you because it's great. So I am 100% agreement with you.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to talk about the cryptids of Skinwalker Ranch, and I feel like it would be foolish of me to not start with the Skinwalker. Um, I have kind of a theory, and I'm going to tie it in after I talk about all of my cryptids, because it kind of affects all of them. I had to clear my throat again. I apologize.
That's okay.
A lot of editing of me doing that this time. That's so bad. Okay. So skinwalkers are either powerful or harmful witches or cursed people who can disguise themselves as animals or other people. Now, what makes this really kind of creepy, and really even more so creepy than it already is, knowing that they can do that, is that according to most Native American lore, this power only comes to a person after they do something completely awful, specifically and most commonly killing a close family member, be it a child, a spouse, a mom, a dad, a sibling. You know where I'm going with this. So one of the many owners of the ranch actually spotted a large humanoid object laying amongst the branches in a tree. So I like to specify that I said laying in a tree,
Yes.
not chasing him, not growling at him, not attacking him. I feel like you know where I'm going. And when the person shined a flashlight in its direction, its eyes appeared red. So he did the only logical thing, and he took out his gun and shot at it. I know. Thank you. I can't.
This is way too common in our research that these cowboys or whatever they want to call themselves are just like their first thought is to start firing at this creature.
If it's attacking you, yes, absolutely, shoot at it. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect the things you need to protect. But it is laying in a tree, probably trying to get some sleep. I don't know, just enjoying the day, taking in some nature. That's what I would do. But anyways, so he shot at it, and it came down from the tree and then vanished. Now, after it vanished, it left behind one perfect footprint, and it was an oval footprint about 6 inches wide in the snow, and coming off the back of the footprint were two sharp-looking claw marks that actually protruded about 2 inches from the foot. So we've obviously talked about skinwalkers before, and with the cattle mutilations, the descriptions of the humanoid, tall, the red eyes, the different occasions we've heard of, like different smells and stuff like that. I know we've already talked about it. I feel like a skinwalker may be a Wendigo. So, and it fits with the first person and whatnot.
And what I've learned from this show and from you, I concur. Like what I've learned over these last 20 episodes and stuff, that makes sense to me.
So another cryptid that I'm actually really excited to talk about, because for any Game of Thrones fan out there, I know you're all gonna love it too. And yeah, are you one of those people that are really mad that the next book hasn't come out yet?
Yes, I've been waiting for years and years and years. So with it, just real quick about it, it was Game of Thrones. I think they were on like about to start season 3. Season 3 was about to start, and I hadn't watched it yet to anything. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read it before I watch any of it. And I want to read it. So I went. I bought. You know, they had a set of the first 5 books, and they're very dense books. You know, 1,500 pages, some of them plus. Yes. And so I read it and, you know, loved the show. But I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And he's come out with other stuff and side books and side quests and all this stuff. And it's like, hurry up and finish these last 2 books. Like, please.
So you don't want to hear that we just read something saying he was coming out with a new project, right? I know, I'm sorry. I know.
Oh, I'm not 100% surprised, but oh my God. Oh God. And I know Eric has read because me and him have discussed before, and he had a similar frustration.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
my God.
You are making the same faces. I haven't read the books because they're not quite grabbing my attention. But again, I love the show, but he loves them so much, just like you do, and it's the the anger I can see when you guys hear, oh, you know, coming up with this project, and he just started this, and he's going here. What are you doing? Like, I don't know.
It's frustrating. It's just like I just want to read his ending.
Okay, so all the harsh waiting times of Game of Thrones aside, I'm excited to talk about the direwolf sightings that are possible in Skinwalker Ranch, which is awesome. So they're described as abnormally huge wolf-like creatures that are capable of walking around bipedal with ease. So this doesn't sound like your average wolf though, which like walking bipedal is more of a trick than or dog or anything. It's more of a trick than a thing they're going to do all the time. It is, however, said that when they run on all fours, but it seems erratic and almost clumsy somehow. So almost like something that maybe, and this is key, wouldn't be used to running on all fours, unlike a wolf. But again, we'll touch on that later. These wolves will, without any fear at all, attempt to approach humans in broad daylight, which is, again, not very wolf-like. And it would seem that the wolf is even bulletproof. And I know, shocking. But after one of the owners moved in, they spotted one in one of their pastures, and the wolf actually approached the family, and it even let one of the people in the family pet it. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Right? How big a direwolf is, be it an actual direwolf or not, how big that is, and it's gonna walk up to you and just like, yeah, pat my head. That's amazing, and I love that thought.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
I would love to pet a direwolf.
Oh yeah, if I'm gonna die in a paranormal way, it's gonna be petting a cryptid, probably a Wendigo.
Yeah.
But really, anything that's gonna let me pet it, I'm gonna try. So, after a good petting, the wolf headed towards the cattle, where it grabbed a young calf by the snout and began dragging it away.
Ooh.
Right? So the owner and his son began to beat it. I know, and I even kind of get this one, because you have to. I know, you have to protect. But they began to beat it, and it did not let go of the calf. So it's gonna shock you, but the father shot it point blank.
Of course he did.
He did. And again, in this case,
yeah, it's a little more justified. He is trying to get his calf. So,
I don't love it. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still not great, but it's a little more justified than some of these other instances that we come across. So,
yeah. So, like I said, he shot him point blank, but the wolf did not let the calf go and continued to pull it.
Jeez.
For me personally, and I feel like you might agree, at this point, if I have shot this point blank and it is continuing to walk away with my calf, that calf is now his.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I'm
there
fine.
You,
you take it, because yeah,
you earn that. That's good for you. But instead of having that logic, which again, this is a gigantic wolf-like creature that you just shot and did not let go, he shot it again. This time, he did let the calf go, or she, I apologize for saying he, they let the calf go, but it didn't run away. And instead of running away, it stared at the man.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm gone.
Done.
I'm somewhere far from there.
Yep. I would be like, yeah, no, I shot you that second time. That's where I went wrong. This is what it's gonna say when they read my obituary. I shot you twice. Yep. So the man again shot at it again, a third time, shot at this animal that is not affected by these things, and he managed to shoot off a piece of its flesh. When the flesh was later recovered, it said that it smelt like it was rotting and fox-like, which I don't actually know what that means. I never smelled a fox.
Never smelled the fox either.
Huh. I don't make it a habit of sniffing the animals, but so it did then back off and then began to run away. At this point, you have your calf back. You have shot this animal 3 times. You have wounded it once. He decides he's going to chase it.
Oh,
and track it
like
for about a
you do,
mile. Yeah,
like you
that's
do,
logic.
like no, like I said, I would be gone, but no, yeah, go track that thing. Yeah.
Makes total sense. It's yeah. This is again. It's I don't know. So he tracked it for about a mile, continuously shooting at it, and then eventually the trail of the direwolf just vanished. So good. He got away from him.
Yes.
It's
Huh. Disappeared though.
the balls on the person. I
That's
can't. I would have been done. I would have been done. First of all, it walks up to us and lets us pet it. You can. I'll give you a calf. Just come by for a pet once in a while. I'm cool with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
A pet direwolf? Yes, please. Yeah.
Exactly.
Give them a calf here and there, and maybe it'll protect your flock. I don't know. Just is it a flock of calves? It's probably not a flock. It's a herd of calves or a herd of cows. There we go. Not a flock. That's perfect.
Yeah, I would have went with the on flock too until you questioned it. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So now we're gonna go on to the next couple cryptids, which I'm actually gonna lump together in one thing because I feel like the sightings could actually be a similar form, just not always visible.
Mhm.
And I'm going to talk about hellhounds, hyenas, and phantom dogs. So, one of the owners saw what he described as a hyena in the corral of his horses, in with his horses, and the horses were frantically trying to get away from it, and this hyena was slashing at him. When he approached it and yelled, it ran away.
Huh.
So that's one of the reasons I'm not trying to lump it in also with the direwolves, because that thing had way more balls than the hyena clearly had.
Mhm.
But it's claimed that it was about 200 pounds with a fox-like tail and incredibly fast. It sat low to the ground at times, and other claims talk about other things being able to see their eyes low to the ground, usually reddish eyes, almost actually always reddish eyes,
Huh.
and usually being accompanied by a low growl. And then the other things that people would hear or kind of witness would be movement of dog-like creatures, shadows and silhouettes, and then hearing barking and howling, and again, more growling, and even disembodied growling when they're not seeing shadows and silhouettes. So those are all the cryptids I have. But despite the differences between, like I said, the hellhounds, the hyenas, and the phantom dogs and the direwolves, there's a factor that makes me feel, and I know this is far-fetched and probably very unpopular, but I feel like it might all be one thing. So if they're skinwalkers, which I think are wendigos, which are kind of very similar to skinwalkers, they are able to turn into any creature they want. A direwolf, a hellhound, a Bigfoot, which is another thing that's commonly cited in Skinwalker Ranch. And I feel like it could all be one thing, and all of these things and every cryptid we talk about really has one common factor, and it is extremely territorial. They always are. They're not gonna coexist happily on this farm together and let it's just they're not going to happen like that. They're too territorial, and I almost feel like it could be one or a group of one thing that's able to be multiple things. How do you feel about that?
I love it because okay, so I was taking a few notes throughout, and and I knew a little bit about some of this just through the shows or whatever, but I didn't know all the detail. Some things that stuck out that I found problematic. Okay, the direwolf being bipedal,
Mm-hmm.
like and like we said, it did run on floors, but it could be bipedal, and that's just something that we don't associate with a wolf, aside, or even any sort of canine, like you said, aside from a trick here and there, you know what I mean? And when you see those tricks, it's not like natural movements. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like a dog on its hinds trying to move. It's not walking like it's been doing this its
No.
whole life.
Yeah.
So, and then hyena, which I don't know, exactly where they're from, but I believe it's like Africa is pretty much their homeland.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to find one in Utah, in the middle of Utah, seems kind of strange. And then the two things, that the red eyes and the growling,
Mhm.
and like a lot of times with like a hyena is like is in the cat family, where a wolf is in the dog family. We When you think about their eyes, it's more of a glow, you know what I mean? Like a yellowish or a whitish sort of glow to it, not a red.
Mhm.
Uh, no, that's not to say that they can't 100%, 100% of the time, that they're that color and, can never be red, but that just stuck out to me. And then the final thing, which you just kind of touched upon, was them coexisting within the same
Yeah.
sort of small yes, it's a big place, but not really. It's a pretty it's a pretty it seems like a pretty self-contained ecosystem within there, and within this 512 acres. And so yeah, I just feel like they a dire wolf might not coexist too well with a hyena, so a skinwalker slash wendigo,
Mm.
makes a lot more sense to me. And I hadn't made that connection at all. And that's why I love it when you made that connection, because I never made it. But that kind of, that, that clears up a lot of those discrepancies that I had, or those little things in the back of my mind that are like, okay, that's strange. That although it kind of makes sense, there was a problem with it, but yeah, that clears it all up. I love it. I think that's where I'm leaning now. That's what I would lean to now as the explanation, that it is a skinwalker, and or slash or wendigo. So no, that's great. Hell of a connection. Hell of a
So
connection.
one other point that I kind of feel like supports it is, you if it were actually a direwolf, or actually a somehow a hyena, or whatnot, the hyena was not going to run away from that man. And on top of it, if a wolf, if a dire wolf somehow was there and got shot once and was okay, that man would not have been standing. It
Yeah,
would have been it. It would have been over.
that's true.
And there's like, Wendigo don't feed on humans. I'm not saying that there's never been a case where there could have been an injury, or even a death related to a Wendigo. They do not feed on humans. Wendigo are already cursed humans who have done an awful thing, and the rest of their life is in the existence it is as a Wendigo is to pay for what they did. And it's, there's just not a lot of human attacks. And I feel like if these things were these separate things and not a Wendigo, there would have been human attacks. This guy is shooting at a random thing in a tree for no reason. And it was,
Yeah.
it feels like just all put together. But I'm glad you're kind of on the same page that I am, because it's the only thing, once it hit me, it's the only thing that can make sense to me.
Yeah, that's the only thing that does make sense to me now, and that's great. I'm glad you brought up that stuff too, the shooting at them and stuff, because yeah, because you're shooting at an animal, and if it's out not having an effect, it's probably coming after you, and it doesn't. So that's just adds to it. And yeah, no, I mean, it's like I hadn't thought it, but now it's all I think. It's a really that feels like the only thing that does make sense to me. So, oh, great. That's why I love doing the show, because making those connections, getting those ties, and just yeah, so good, so good.
All right. Well, you got anything else?
No, that was fun. I think that might probably our longest episode today, our
I
supersized episode of Skinwalker. I mean, granted, we had quite a good conversation on Scream, but still, no, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad we decided to just dedicate this episode to Skinwalker because there's so much. And guys, we just scratched the surface. We really did. I mean, there's
barely.
ton more. There's more details and stuff. We could be here for days just talking about it. So do some independent research. Check out those shows on Hulu because this is just it is quite the fascinating place.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time when we set up camp in Texas. Until then, happy camping.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.